I'll take that up with you shortly. But Pastor Allen Oyema said, the skies will be open again in Nigeria from Wednesday. But you listen to the DG there, it is not a cut and dry thing. There's a big proviso to it, and that will depend on a number of things, particularly on the part of airline operators like you. How ready are people like you to come back to business after almost 3 months of layoff?
Well, if you ask the airlines, everyone will tell you that we are ready, we are 100% ready. However, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has also got work to do. But in pass. But you need another person to help you re-examine yourself.
Hold the mirror to you.
Yes.
So that you can see your reflection.
Exactly. So that's what the NCA is doing. You see, Nigerians should not be afraid of all the airlines having been locked down for so long, like the DG explained to you. There's always what we call short-term storage maintenance. There's medium-term storage maintenance. There is also long-term storage maintenance, according to the manuals and the books. So when you follow these things, you will never get it wrong. And I'm sure all the airlines must have been doing that. Then you have the oversight function of the NCA to help, helping us see if the right things were done. And they've been flagging up a lot of things, with all the airlines. And once they flag it up, they tell you, correct this, correct that.
As in a red flag when you see something.
The Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, under Captain Musa Nuhu, is doing a great job. He's a no-nonsense guy, and they've been doing a whole lot. We have to believe in our own. I keep on saying this. I've been saying this even years before now. We have to believe in our own. The kind of oversight the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authorities do on airlines in Nigeria in the past few years and even now is unprecedented. You cannot compare what they do to us to what other bigger civil aviation authorities, even in the first world, do to their airlines. Because of the not so good incidents of the past, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has decided to make sure that no aircraft falls out of the skies again in Nigeria. And you could see the results. So when the federal government delayed resumption, a lot of people were like, oh, we should resume. I told them, look, I even told the DG NCA when he was rolling out some guidelines to follow, and some people were criticizing, no, other countries have started. I said, I want to be on the side of safety. Safety first. If the DG says tomorrow that Air Peace will not fly on Wednesday, I will accept it, because there must be reasons why. Or if he says this aircraft of mine will not fly tomorrow, I will accept it. It's for my own good, and it's for the good of the industry, because God forbid, if anything happens, it will affect everybody. That is what the NCA is trying to do.
Once an airline records one negative incident,
yes,
it will affect. Takes a long time.
It not only affect you alone, it will affect the country, the rating
well.
of the country, and everything. So the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority is doing a great job. It's doing a great job. I tell you, the other day I had a bird strike in Kano. In Kano, I had a bird strike. A bird flew into our engine. The pilot successfully turned around and brought the plane down. Now, we brought in our engineers to work on the aircraft. After working on the aircraft, the NCAA staff in Kano, when we wanted to do a test flight to make sure everything was okay, insisted on being on that test flight. What does that tell you?
He's ready to stake his own life.
Stake his own life to make
safety.
sure for the proper good, for the bigger good of the entire country. And that was very encouraging. When I heard it, I was so pleased. So the DG is on the right track.
What about some of the protocols, the new protocols that he talked about? How ready are airlines like you? These are airlines that have not operated since March. They've been losing revenue. Some of you have had to even be paying your staff even when they're not working and generating revenue. Now, these protocols, I know some of them will impose additional cost on you. How ready are the airlines? Or how kindly are you taking these new protocols?
The negative impact of COVID-19 is something very cerebral. It has gone out of the roofs. For the airlines, we are suffering a lot of costs to that end. There's what we call the new normal, whereby you are expected to, like the DG said, we are doing some things we are not used to now. A lot of protocols to be observed. So because of, they come with certain costs, and the airlines are the ones, bearing this burden. That's why the airlines have been calling for some sort of palliatives from the government, and the government under the present regime is doing a lot to alleviate our sufferings. And I have to give kudos to the Honorable Minister of Aviation. Being an aviator himself, he knows actually where the shoe pinches, and he has done a great lot, to help us, come on stream. I mean, Senator Hadi Sirika has done a lot to make us come on stream, getting the government to help us. And I think within the next few days, the government will come to our rescue. However, the COVID-19 pandemic is not just Nigeria. The entire world is on auto shutdown. And because of this, the airline industry has been worst hit. It has been worst hit. You pack your planes, you are expected to maintain that plane, so you're not getting revenue, and you are expending money maintaining the plane. Insurance, whether you're flying or not, if there's ground risk insurance. And remember, I told you the other day that Nigeria is stigmatized. The outside world will tell you Nigeria is unsafe, Nigeria is this, meanwhile they come here and stay. But at the same time, they stigmatize us to help themselves.
For you to pay higher
insurance. The insurance I pay on one aircraft is what the first world airlines pay on maybe 3 of their planes. The kind of insurance premium we pay here is so high. So these airlines, you've shut down, no revenue coming in, you're paying some staff who are actually attending to the aircraft. Remember, maintenance is still ongoing. You're paying insurance for the plane you parked, not flying. There are so many other things. At the same time, vendors are disturbing from, all over the place. So what we decided to do is to make sure we play by the books. But it is very, very expensive and very disturbing. But I tell you one thing I can tell you for free, that no Nigerian airline wants to fall out of the skies. They've learned their lessons. They know the implications of allowing certain things happen. And the Civil Aviation Authority is up to the task too.
All right, let's get back to the DG. Let me find out first whether it's back on Skype. Is the DG still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Good, sir. Okay, let's go straight into those protocols now. Let's start with the ones that impose responsibility on your agency. Those new protocols that we need to enforce at the airports: provision of facilities, hand washing facilities, disinfecting facilities, buses that are conducive for the new normal and all of that. Let's start from that. Are all of these things in place? And also, for instance, that it is one thing to provide facilities at our airports. It is another thing to maintain and keep them. In fact, before COVID-19, it was almost practically impossible to maintain common toilet facilities in our airports. Now, the new normal will require that all of these things don't happen, that we maintain full hygiene all time round. How prepared are the aviation regulatory authorities for this new responsibility, DG?
Thank you very much. Yes, it is a very difficult task. We know the maintenance culture sometimes in our country is not the best, but we have been consulting closely with the management of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, who are the custodians and the operators of the federal-owned airports all over Nigeria, and also been in contact with the private airports, Uyo, Asaba, and several others, and we've given them requirements. And we did a dry run last week, Saturday. We had an aero contractors flight that did a dry run. Went through the departure protocols in Abuja Airport. We arrived Lagos at the General Aviation Terminal, and we inspected the terminal. All that was required were put in place. I must commend the management of the Federal Airports Authority for complying with all the regulations and the guidelines and the protocols given by the Civil Aviation Authority. We also did the departure protocol out of Lagos General Aviation Terminal and went to Abuja, where we did the arrival protocol. Well, having said this, both airports, they've met the requirements we've given them, but there are other issues that we need to take care of. We know sometimes the culture in Nigeria, we don't like to join queues, we like to disregard fun and so forth. So there are control measures, crowd control measures at the entrance of the airport to ensure that anybody entering the airport terminal from the ward-go must wear their mask and they must be checked for possible COVID-19 symptoms, which includes the temperature check, signs of cold, coughing, or otherwise. Anybody that has any of those symptoms or refuses to obey the protocols will not be allowed to enter the airport terminal. The airports are a critical component of the public health code protocol. That is why we can feel protocol bodies, all in the public health protocol body, security and other measures. Once you get the airport processes, which is complicated, right, then you minimize and mitigate the dangers inside the aircraft cabin. If we do the right thing at the airport, it minimizes. But you know, one of the measures is the issue of physical distance. Some of our airports, a lot of our airports, the capacity are not that much. If you have an airport with maybe 700 capacity, by the time you put this physical distancing measures in place, you effectively cut down on the capacity of that terminal. So if you cut down the capacity of the terminal, at sometimes maybe 3 or 4 aircrafts depart at the same time, now you have an issue. So what we're trying to do between the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Nigeria Airspace Management Authority, and the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, to see how we can sequence arrival and departure of flights as not to exceed the capacity of each of every terminals, because the public health protocol is based on the physical distance. It's one of the major non-pharmaceutical protocols, and including the use of the face mask. We are working together. We have a lot of progress has been done, significant progress. Quite a few number of the airlines have already met. Those who have not met the requirements are very few. For now, Lagos, Abuja, Kano airports have done extremely well. Port Harcourt and Warri airports are coming well. We've had issues of movement because of some local restriction of movements there, but they are quite well. In the next few days, I'm sure Warri and Port Harcourt will meet the requirement before the 11th. Then we'll start working on the other airports. What I want everybody to understand is we have almost 27 airports spread all over the country. It's a lot of effort, it's a lot of resources, and it's going to take a lot of planning to get each and every of those airports meet the required standards for them to resume operations. So we really have to be patient. I think I rather default on the caution side and ensure that we get things right than to rush and open like 1 or 2 countries rushed and open, and it was disastrous for them. They have to shut down. We really want to avoid the situation where we have to shut down because we did not wait or we're not fully ready to open. And that's it for now. Thank you. We have a lot of new protocols we are not used to, so we have to be careful how we start.
Okay.
Let's start gradually,
Okay.
and in addition to gradually and ensure that we're perfect before we move to the next stage. Don't forget, we have a finite number of inspectors. We cannot spread all our inspectors to do all the airports at the same time, so we have to take it in bits and pieces to ensure we get it right from the word go. It's critical and very important we get it right from the word go.
Okay. DG, part of the new protocol is that passengers must arrive at the airport at least 3 hours ahead of their flight. We also know that there are peak periods In the morning, for instance, the hours between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. are appear to be very peak period. Suppose 4, 5 airlines want to fly in the same direction and capitalize on that peak period to mop up passengers. Have we imagined what the scenario would look like with safe distancing, with all of those things? How would all of that work out?
Thank you. That's one of the major challenges we are facing. And maybe you missed it. I said we are working on sequencing the departure and arrival of flights so that we do not have passengers that exceed the capacity, of our terminals, considering the social distance spacing we need with the markings on the floor. We need to have people to stay within those markings as to ensure that social distance is between the airports. And we understand it's going to reduce the capacity of the terminal, and as such, it's going to affect the number of airlines that can operate at the same time in some of our terminals. So that's the reason why one of the measures we're taking to effect that, to mitigate that, is the sequencing of arrivals and departures. I understand some islands might not be very happy, but I think it's better for us to default on the cautious side rather than taking unnecessary chances and running into problems. And the issue of 3 hours, yes, we're looking at that, looking at the peak hours. And we're doing something we said, as Chief Allen has said, we've not done before. So let's start it. Probably after a couple of weeks, when we get to the hang of it, we'll perfect it, and we can see areas where we can tweak the system to make it better, to reduce the amount of time the traveling public have to wait at the airports before departing.
All right. DG, I know that you are a very busy man, but let me just exhaust all I have now and then let you go. This question is very important because it has been an issue in dispute between you as a regulator and the airline operators. And this has to do with safe distancing, maintaining safe and social distancing on board the aircraft. The authorities, the regulators are insisting that airlines will probably have to reduce to between 50 and 60% capacity of their passengers in order to be able to maintain social distancing in the aircraft. In actual fact, you are suggesting that the middle seat should be taken out completely. The airlines operators are saying no, they have a different idea as to how to ensure safety. If it's about safety, they have a different idea as to how to ensure that and guarantee that on board their aircraft. So Wednesday is just a couple of days from now. We can actually count the hours. What have you resolved with the airline operators on this very important issue of maintaining social distancing in the aircraft?
Thank you very much. I just want to raise a point that the issue of social distancing inside the aircraft, it's not just the regulator coming and taking decisions. We consult with the public health authorities before coming to that conclusion. And by the way, the International Civil Aviation Organization, which is the premier regulatory aviation body in the world, body of the United Nations, has come up with what they call the ICAO. ICAO stands for International Civil Aviation Organization, Council Aviation Recovery Task Force. And now they set up this to deal with the issues of COVID pandemic. And the committee that was formed included representation and participation of the World Health Organization, World Tourism Organization, International Air Transport Association, which represents the airlines, Airport Council International, which is a representative of the airports, and several international organizations. On the issue of social distancing, what the CAT report said was, and where social distancing is not feasible, e.g. in the cabin of the aircraft, the authorities should require the airlines to implement mitigating measures. What are these mitigating measures? Wearing a face mask, the use of hand sanitizers to clean their hands, and also the airline before each flight going in, cleaning the aircraft, especially common use areas, including the toilet. And it goes to say also, where space is available in the aircraft, the airline might decide to do physical distances within the aircraft. We are looking towards adopting that. It's not finalized. We are still in consultation with the local authorities, and hopefully before the close of work tomorrow, we'll come with our position on that. We've had several stakeholders meeting, about 5 or 6, and I'd like to thank Chief Onyema of Airpeace for being very supportive and participating in all this. Where we've discussed this issue of social distancing on board the aircraft, and several other issues, and we've had very lively debates. The last one we had, we had for over 4 hours, and a chunk of it was on the issue of social distancing. We are very close. And I can assure you before Wednesday, I believe we'll reach an agreement.
That appears to be the only knotty issue that is dividing you and the airlines. Are there any other things that probably I don't know about that you may want to also let the public know?
Well, I don't think it's a knotty issue between us and the airlines. The regulatory body will have the final say based on all the parameters. We'll look at the concerns and the challenges of the airline. We understand if you reduce the number of seats, it makes them less profitable. Running an airline business is a very, very expensive business. And on the other issues, I would just like to assure the Nigerian public, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, in consultation with other aviation agencies and the industry, including the airlines, the airports, the ground handlers, work exigently, seriously to ensure that when the system restarts, it's safe. And I've said again, and I'll say again, no sector of the industry will be allowed to start if the Civil Aviation Authority is not certified they have met the requirement. Each and every requirement must be met, and it must be confirmed before I will personally give approval to each organization to resume. We cannot and will not allow any unpleasant incident or accident happen, especially with the spread of COVID-19. If we do that, that means we have absolutely failed in our responsibility, and we will not accept that. We'll working closely with the industry, and the industry understand, and they have been giving us a cooperation and understanding. And whenever they have issues, we discuss with them, and we find solution. It's a matter of partners in progress. We work with each other. We're like the components, different components of a system, and we try to synergize to make the system work as effectively and efficiently as it's supposed to be. We cannot play with aviation industry. It's a critical component of the national economy. It's a stimulator of a lot of economic activities, and it is very, very important. Just to give you how important the aviation economy is, according to International Air Transport Association, from the beginning of COVID-19 to the first week of May, the airline industry and the aviation industry in Nigeria has lost $761 million. And also the loss to the national GDP is $648 million, with 91,000 jobs at stake. If this is allowed to continue to the end of the year, the downturn, the loss to the airlines is almost $1 billion at $994 million, and a loss of $886 million contribution to the GDP, with about 125,000 jobs at risk. You can agree with me in these times of economic downturn, we cannot afford to have those losses. So we are working seriously with all the industry, and also I'll extend my appreciation and thanks to the Pulse Health Services, the National Center for Disease Control, Federal Ministry of Health, and most importantly, the Presidential Task Force, and my minister, Senator Hadi Sirika, for all the support they've given us in coming up with these plans and guidelines and conduct of our responsibility. Thank you.
You use one expression there, and I fell in love with that expression instantly, which is that both you and the airline operators are components in a chain. But in this particular instance, it will appear that the airline operators appear to be the weakest point in the chain, and at the same time, the strongest point in the chain. Is the aviation authorities, for instance, considering some level of assistance to the airlines to ensure that none goes down, to ensure that the airlines do, in an attempt to at least break even, don't also transfer unnecessary costs to the passengers? Because we are told already that they have to contend at the moment with almost as many as, is it 35 or 37 different levies and charges?
Okay, I cannot tell you off the bat how many levels and charges. It's a very contentious issue, and as we continue with our stakeholder consultation down the road, these are some of the things we'll sit down. Issues of levies and charges is very controversial, but we shouldn't look at Nigeria alone. We need to benchmark with other countries, similar countries like Nigeria, and see how we're doing, so that we can come to some kind of agreement and conclusion. And that I cannot make any promise now or something till we discuss, because it's a very contentious issue. It's not only the airlines, there are many other sectors, and then the industry is not the airlines. The airlines is a significant component of the industry, but we also have the airports, we have the ground handlers, we have the catering, the fuelers. The value chain is quite expensive, extensive with the aviation industry. We have the traveling agencies and other that. So it's a very contentious issue. We all have to sit down and discuss on this matter before we can come to some kind of agreement somewhere down the line. The service providers like FAN, even we, the Civil Aviation Authority, we need to have some charges, so we can get. That's where we get our funds from. That is where we get some. And the issue of support for the airlines, this Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, obviously, we cannot give any financial assistance to the airline. What we can see through our system, like give them some kind of exemptions, like we've given them exemptions for simulator training for the pilots. They came out with alternative means of meeting those requirements, which we did release analysis and accepted. But this exemption has saved the airlines tens of millions of dollars. Tens of millions of dollars. And I'm sure Chief Yema can confirm that he has one of the best airlines. He has hundreds of pilots. Sending each pilot to go for simulator training is expensive, thousands of dollars. You have the air ticket, you have the allowances and others, and people being away from. So that's tens of millions of dollars for that. But I'm aware the Honorable Minister of Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, has been making efforts with the government to get some form of assistance to the industry, not the airline, the whole chain of the industry. And how much, I know something is coming. How much in grants, I don't know. And I'm aware they're talking with the Central Bank of Nigeria, give them long-term loans with single-digit rates for them to meet some of the financial requirements. So there are a lot of things coming up, but that's on the side of the Federal Minister of Aviation. And I know the minister has been working, and I'm sure Chief Allen can confirm. I believe they've had some meetings with the minister and also with the central bank governor on how the airline industry can, what assistance can be given to the airline industry to ensure that survival.
All right. Thank you so much, DG. We really appreciate your time this morning. You've spoken at length on all of the issues. We really appreciate your finding time to join us, sir. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, sir.
Thank you very much for having me here, and I'd like to thank Chief Alan Yema, the CEO and
Well, I don't know whether
Chairman.
he has anything to say to you or ask you
Well,
specifically.
my
He's been cooperative and
my
he's been
DJ, my
very
DJ, my
supportive.
boss. Thank you very much. Thank you for all you do. You've been carrying the industry so well. You don't leave anybody, to any guess about what you want to do in the industry. And if anybody wants this business for a long haul, the person will support the principles you stand for. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and have a great day.
You too.
All right, thank you so much. We are there, the Director General of the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, NCA, Captain Musa Nuhu, who joined us via Skype to look at the matters arising as the nation prepared to reopen the skies with effect from Wednesday. He said so much. It's now us together. Okay, let's start with the controversial one. Why are airlines not willing to forfeit the middle seats to enforce social distancing in their aircraft? You said you have a better alternative. Can you tell the public what those other alternative measures are for us to have at least safety on board?
Well, I want to be alive. And I'm sure
Everybody wants to be.
everybody wants to be alive. We want our passengers to be alive. Nobody wants to die. You see, in the practical sense, when you talk about physical distancing or social distancing or whatever it is called, you talk about 2 meters. If you sacrifice the middle seat, the distance between the window seat and the aisle seat is not even up to 1.5 meters. So what are we talking about? So is either you close the entire thing down, or just like this DG said and read out some ICAO protocols for that, you now look for other alternatives that make sense. All over the world, people have criticized this middle seat empty regime. It is unnecessary. It is even absurd. It cannot stop you from getting corona because you created a space between one passenger and the other inside the same enclave.
Yeah.
Now, for the fact that the distance between the aisle and the window seat is not even up to 1.5 meters, is it now necessary to do that? And remember the cost implications of all this. It will trickle down to the passengers. I'm not even talking about Nigeria alone. All over the world, people are criticizing it. So we need to look for ways of making sure the airlines or the airport vicinities are not being used to propagate the incidence of coronavirus.
Okay.
Right from the time you come into the airport, there are a lot of protocols are being observed.
Safety protocols, yeah.
Safety protocols, health safety protocols are being observed to make sure that nobody transmits that disease within the airport. It's so strict that even by the time you get to the aircraft, you must have been tested, you must have
Fumigated
over and over again, sanitized over and over again, and you're wearing
a
a
face
face mask. You're wearing all sorts of gadgets. So there's no way. And again, these airplanes have HEPA filters that filters the air that comes into the aircraft.
I'm told that
like in airpiece.
that the air in any modern
yes.
plane is the same you have in,
You see,
in an
we
operating
even
theater in the hospital.
we showed the public recently what we did in airpiece. We removed all our HEPA filters and we replaced our HEPA filters to brand new HEPA filters. And because of this COVID-19, we intend to, sometimes the manufacturer might tell you to do things every 3 months. But with the incidence of COVID-19, you might start to do some things quicker than usual. And these they have attendant costs. So we do not support the middle seat regime thing being propounded by some people. And thankfully, the DG has not told us that that is what's going to happen from Wednesday. Because I'm sure, as an aviator himself, they know that it doesn't make any sense to have that gap. Now, what do you do? That is what ICAO is saying. ICAO says, if you could engender some protocols to minimize the contact of this, then you can use the middle seat. So ICAO never said shouldn't use middle seat at all. Neither WHO. So now, neither WHO. So what we are going to do is invent some protocols to help minimize it. First of all, use face mask. 2 days
Which
ago,
will be compulsory for every passenger?
yes, which is compulsory even before you enter the airport.
Yeah.
Now you use that for the middle seat person. Let's make it compulsory for the middle seat person to wear face visor,
What's that?
face shield.
That's the shield.
That's the shield.
Who bears the cost?
Well,
The passenger?
the passengers, you want to be alive. How much does it cost? The airline can also
No,
provide.
so suppose I get to the airport, I don't have one.
You don't have one.
It's only at the airport that you told me that you have assigned a middle seat to
A
me.
middle seat to you.
Where then do I get the face shield?
The airline can provide that. The airline can even prem that and provide those things even in the cost to make sure everybody is safe. If it is 300 naira or 500 naira that it costs, the airline should put it there. The airline should not be made to bear all the brunt of other people's safety.
Safety is
measures.
everybody's responsibility.
It's everybody's responsibility.
Yeah.
So now, what we have decided to do in order to use our middle seat is this. Coronavirus could be gotten through the boarding process. If you announce boarding the way we used to do it in the past, where when you announce, everybody gets up and everybody will be going in, you see people, you see the eye crowded, then definitely you're going to transmit that disease. What we decided to do now is to call for boarding for people on the window seat, right window seat of the aircraft.
Okay.
You take only them in the bus. Take them to the aircraft. When they board, you call for the middle seat on the right. After then, you call for the window seat again on the left. You follow it with the middle seat on the left. Then you call for the aisle seat on the right before calling for the aisle seat on the left. The business class passengers will now board last because you don't want a situation whereby people will be passing through when they are already seated in the business class, for people to be passing through, rubbing bodies in order to get to the economy class. No. So you bought, you see,
that process would have eliminated it, because when you are boarding in the old order, you see people try to put their bags in the hash, people pushing each other.
Not only that,
there's a long queue formed in the aisle.
Yes, somebody must have seated on the aisle. Then the window seat person will come and you have to get up.
My seat.
That's my seat is in the window, so you have to get up for him to pass. So all these things will
be eliminated.
Will be eliminated when you do this. Then the face visor is very, very important. The face visor, the type you can open and at least drink water in case of you're choking, is very, very important to bring it. If you have all this,
if airlines provide that and put the cost in the ticket, that will be okay, because that will be easier for me than I get to the airport and then you told me that you have assigned an IC to me and I have to go looking for
it will be nice for the airlines
if it's already built.
Yes, it will be
or
nice.
If the airlines are ready to bear the cost.
Yeah. No, we won't bear the cost. We will not promise what we can do. It is good for the airlines to provide it. Put it on the ticket, or maybe, but putting it on the ticket again, NCA will come and say 5% of whatever we charge. Meanwhile, this one is not part of our revenue. That is why the airlines are advocating flat fee for NCA instead of the 5% regime. So, because when you put some of these COVID-19 protocols, the money is not actually coming to us. And you're paying 5% of it, it affects the airlines at the end of the day. But we need to do what we need to do. We should not sacrifice the middle seat. It is unnecessary, absolutely unnecessary. It's even absurd.
It doesn't guarantee safety.
Yes, it doesn't guarantee. But what guarantees safety is people. Nigerians now will learn how to be quiet at the airport. People should not come to the airport. You know fully well that the allowable luggage is 20 kg. And that you have anything more than 20 kg, you pay excess luggage for the extra. Yeah. But in Nigeria, you see people coming with 7 suitcases. We travel very heavy in this country. And he will come with 7 suitcases. Instead of doing the right thing, he will be begging, please now, please now. Some will try to you know,
Do
compromise. Yes, compromise your staff. When you do that, you waste time at the airport. We don't have time this time. People should know that going to the Nigerian airport this time, you have to be as brisk as ever. You have to, because now they're saying 3 hours before, but you have to, passengers and airlines should make life easy and easier for everyone. Don't come to the airport with so many suitcases and expecting the things that used to happen before to happen now. No, it won't happen again, because you'll be shoved aside, you'll be told to step aside for other people to
for people who are ready to fly.
We're not saying people should not bring their luggage, but when you're bringing your luggage, please try and
don't be like the elephants.
Yes, abide by whatever that is happening there. So, and these airplanes have been over-sanitized. They've been over-sanitized. If you had watched the AP's video, maintenance video, you see we had gadgets that fumigated the airlines, so the aircraft so much. We clean at every interval. For every landing, we station in all the stations some of these gadgets to clean. So if we land in Calabar, for instance, there are people there to take care of stuff before the next passengers come in. So if you observe some of these protocols, there won't be any need for anybody to sacrifice the middle seat. If not so, Nigerians should be prepared to pay 100,000 naira for economy class tickets.
That's where I'm going to. That's my next question, which is that there is already the apprehension in the air that air travel will become very unattractive by the time we get to the new regime, because airlines that have not operated since March will be ready to either start making profit immediately or recoup the cost of what they have invested in safety protocol. Or, well, you already said the issue of eliminating the middle airline now, the middle seat is not likely to happen. So the idea of transferring the cost or sharing the cost of the middle line between the two seats, the aisle and the window seat, will probably not be there. But Nigerians will still be apprehensive that there will be so much to pay for airline. I know that before COVID-19 and all of that, the minimum ticket, Lagos to Abuja, Abuja to Lagos, was selling for like, I think 23,000 or so. Like 23,000. That's like $60 or so.
$63 before.
$63.
At 360, about $63.
Today, $60 is not 23,000 naira.
Times 460.
It's about $60 today is about
multiply by 460.
That should be like about 40 something thousand.
About, yeah.
So the minimum, are we saying that the minimum ticket to when we reopen will not be anything less than 40,000? Okay,
let me tell you this, Benga. You see, we have to be practical here. Let's not deceive ourselves. The ticket fares, some people might not agree with me, but the truth is that the ticket fares in Nigeria are very, very low. And the cost of running the airline business in Nigeria is very, very high. Has anybody bothered to ask why are Nigerian airlines not doing so well in the past? Why have we had a lot of mortality rate? Over 115 airlines have passed through this country. Just about 8 of them are remaining. That's doing scheduled flight operations. Have we ever bothered to ask questions? Everything is in dollars. We don't produce a pin on the aircraft in this country. You have to import your spare parts. It will come in, custom will keep them. You have to import your engines. You have to bring expatriates. But let's not kid ourselves. We don't have the entire resources to run airlines in this country. So we must, at every point in time, look to the west or even to Asia to get some resources to maintain these planes. You pay a lot. My line maintenance is being handled by a foreign company. The Israelis handle the 777, the British for the 737. And at the end of the month, you pay over 300 million naira. It's just on one type of fleet. It's very expensive. Yet, we charge $23,000, $63. That is ridiculous. In the year 2000, the least fare in Nigeria in the year 2000 was about $100. Yes. When the thing was going for 2,000 naira and the exchange rate was about, I think, when you calculate it, actually, it was about $100. So what has gone wrong? So because of competition, we are undoing ourselves. You have to be scared. The flying public should be asking questions. When you compare the fares we pay in Nigeria and what is obtainable in the US and other places where they have everything, where they don't have to provide generators, they don't have to do anything. Yet, a 1 hour flight from Atlanta to Miami, if you buy the ticket the same day, you'll be paying about $400. About $400, about 160 for economy, and you're not allowed to bring in your luggage. You bring any luggage, you pay for it. That's about 160,000 if you buy the ticket the same day. If you buy ahead of time, you might get about $100 or 110 for a 1 hour flight. So people have been asking questions. Are you sure these Nigerian airlines are actually maintaining their planes? That is why they are eternally indebted. So let's change it for once. The new fares you're seeing now is not because of COVID-19. The new fares you're seeing is not because of COVID-19. There are other factors that are making airlines charge new fares. First and foremost, the dollar exchange. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
The naira has lost
exactly. It's still the same $23,000 for the cheapest fare. But when you convert it, because you need to go and buy dollar, it will be the same 23 naira.
Yes. It will be the same $63.
It will be the same $63.
But when you convert it to naira, you now have to churn out more naira.
Yes.
To buy
so we've not, in actual fact, we've not really increased. That is what the exchange rate detects for us to do.
Okay. All right. Let's say the other controversial issue, of course, I don't know, where did I just put that now? Which also involves the airline. Okay, we've discussed the issue of eliminating or not eliminating the middle airline. This other one has to do with the issue of cost. But in terms of the inside the aircraft itself, would you still be serving refreshment and all of that? Because the earlier protocol that the WHO released eliminated all of these things for flights that are less than 1 hour or just about 1 hour, no in-flight refreshment, just in a bid to minimize the contact between the cabin crew and the passengers.
You see, I can't wait for this, for a cure to be found for this COVID-19 rubbish. I can't just wait for a cure to be found because I feel for those businesses that are going to be affected by all this. For example, the catering companies, Skycare, for instance, one of the companies things to remember. These companies have invested billions to set up their business. Now we are saying that we are not going to do catering again on board. They are going to be affected, but that is what it is. It is what it is. So 1 hour flight, actually, 1 hour flight, 45 minutes flight, you don't need to be served food. So because of COVID-19, what we are going to do is to put your water on your seat. That's another way of...
Before the passenger gets there?
Yeah, before you get to your seat, there's everything is served and put on your seat pocket. So all this will minimize all this contact and this middle seat, whatever we are talking about. Water and everything. If you want to put snacks, we can put it there for you when you land. You take it away. But we are not going to serve food for the time being. We're not going to serve food on any of our aircraft for the time being. Because when you look at it, actually, in other parts of the world before COVID, nobody gives you food for a 2 hours flight. In Nigeria, 17 minutes flight from 20 minutes flight from Lagos to Akure, somebody will be asking you for pounded yam and egusi. So some of those things we used to do.
Because they think that it's part of what they are paid for.
Yes, so it has to go. It has to go this time. But I feel for the catering companies. I really feel for them. When we recover to some extent, maybe me in particular, I would like EPIs to look at the way of doing dry snacks so that those companies will be afloat to the employed people. I'm always for job retention. So if we can patronize them, even if it's dry snacks, and we take it, put in the seat pocket for people to eat, just for them to have something at the end of the day.
What about the management of the common use areas like toilets and lavatories on board?
Yes, those ones, once somebody goes in there and comes out,
Somebody goes to fumigate it.
Yes, somebody goes in to fumigate and clean the place up. And clean the place. Once somebody goes in there, that's why you need to have enough cabin crew on board.
Without also jeopardizing the issue of safe distancing and crowd.
No.
Okay. All
The aircraft they have their sitting places, so it's not jeopardizing anything.
Is there anything I've left out? I doubt it. Okay, the issue of not palliative now, intervention for the airlines. The DG mentioned it that the central bank is already working on maybe giving some loans to airlines that may wish to access such loans, and it will be at single digit, and they will be long-term loans. Airlines should be happy with that. That's in addition to the fact that the aviation authorities are also considering waivers in some places and all of that, exemptions and waivers.
First of all, I use this opportunity to thank our Honorable Minister for Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika. He's really done enough for us, trying to convince government that aviation is not an elitist venture, but an economic driver. He has done so well in doing that, and he has really convinced government to come to the aid of airlines like he's done, all over the world. And our thanks go to His Excellency and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces, President Muhammad Buhari, for coming to the aid of airlines. And of course, the Central Bank Governor, Dr. Mefile, he wants to do this like yesterday. I have to tell you that. In fact, I'm the coordinator for the airlines on this issue. Okay. Dr. Mefile wants to do it like yesterday. We are actually the ones saying, hold on, let us come back. So you see, we're in a country where the government is very responsive to our yearnings as airlines. And we really, really, really appreciate this. If we continue like this, we won't have the incidents of Nigerian Airlines being history. And we really appreciate the government for doing this. And of course, our fantastic Honorable Minister of Aviation. We don't know the amount they're going to give us, but what we are asking for is money because now you've not worked for 4 months, no revenue, so no money there for you to pay insurance. The insurance are becoming due. Most of us pay insurance quarterly. This is another quarter. So the airlines need money to pay for the insurance, and it runs into millions of dollars for every
And you
airline.
can't afford to also owe workers that have stayed at home for months.
Yes, and the workers are coming back. We need money to at least maybe between 6 to 12 months loan. We don't want free money. It comes with an interest. We don't want free money. But the airlines need something to resume. Maybe salaries, it depends on the magnanimity of the central bank. They can decide to do 6 months or 12 months. It depends on what they can afford to give. Because there are other sectors of the economy also that will need to be helped, not just airlines. So it has to be done in such a way that it will go around. But for us airlines, we need money for insurance. It is very, very important. Without this insurance, the airplanes can never take to the skies. And they are due now from July 1st, another quarter. So we need insurance, not just salaries for workers. Salaries for workers going forward to help us, give us some cushion, maybe for 6 months or 12 months to keep aside, to make sure that we take care of salaries going forward so that jobs will not be lost. Because we don't know what we're going to see there when we start. And you don't want to start sacking people. So the money the federal government is giving you will cushion the effects and help airlines to retain jobs. In other countries, they actually pay the workers that have already been employed. Even when people are followed abroad, the government takes over and pays. So the government should give us money to pay these workers. We keep aside for payment of salaries for the next 6 months or whenever they can afford. But it should be from July, August, going forward. Whatever they give us, we're going to return. And at the same time, insurance. At the same time, maintenance. We have our planes in maintenance organizations all over the world. If you start on Wednesday and your planes are not in Nigeria, what do you do? The workers will lose their jobs. So you need also to help us, give us money to bring these planes back from the maintenance organizations. And at the same time, the airlines themselves must be truthful to whatever they are passing on to the central bank. Things of the past should be, left in the past. Like I said, we don't want a situation where airlines are bad-mouthed and say that, airlines, when you give them money, they don't pay back. I'm sure my colleagues have learned from the past, and we're going to get it right this time.
All right, thank you so much. It's been a comprehensive look at the aviation sector as we prepare to reopen the skies with effect from this Wednesday. Earlier we had the DG of the NCA, Captain Musa Nuhu, who joined us via Skype, and of course Barrister Allen Oyema, the Chairman, Chief Executive of Airpeace, who has been here since we started this program. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And we wish you safe flying when you resume.
We thank God Almighty for
All right.
everything.
Earlier, when the program opened, I told you we'll also be having a Pan-African look at the management of the COVID-19. Of course, according to the African Center for Disease Control, the epidemiologic situation in Africa is gradually giving cause for worry. Is that so, and how so? We'll be looking at all of that. Dr. Ima Agogo is the country representative resolved to save lives. He was part of a survey across all states. Is it all states of Nigeria or all African states? Okay, he'll be joining us right now, or rather after this short break.